What's up everyone, I'm Mr. Psychological, and welcome to my channel where I attempt to explain interesting and difficult subjects to modern pop culture entertainment by drawing the parallels between them. In this video series, I will be drawing the parallels between the critically acclaimed video game series, God of War, and the psychology of Carl Jung in regards to the archetypes, collective unconscious, cycles of death and rebirth, our inner opposites, facing our own dragons, and becoming whole with oneself. According to Jung, the only way to achieve wholeness is to become one with our inner opposites by integrating our unconscious contents. I'll explain these concepts as best I can as they present themselves along this grueling journey through the unconscious of God of War. But if you want to familiarize yourself with these concepts beforehand, I would suggest watching Max the Rat's series on Aion, which I will link below. We will be covering the series of God of War to 2018. So fair warning, major spoilers ahead if you have not played the series to that point. One thing I ask is as we traverse through the unconscious and meet many gods and archetypes, please view them as purely psychological experiences rather than entities that exist in themselves, as this is Jung's understanding. With that, let's dive in. A mind that is still childish thinks of the gods as metaphysical entities existing in their own right, or else regards them as playful or superstitious inventions. The gods are without doubt personifications of psychic forces to assert their metaphysical existence. For those who don't know, God of War is an epic PlayStation video game that has won the hearts and rage of millions of people over the course of almost the last 2 decades. The main protagonist, Kratos, is a demigod riddled with rage, complexity, tenacity, courage, leadership, regret, and tragedy. Not much different than many of us. Kratos was born in Sparta, and therefore the story begins in the noble lands of Greece. Being a Spartan was no easy life for its inhabitants, as their society was built on a democracy, which chooses its leaders based on their aptitude for war and skill in battle. Males were trained since birth to become the fiercest and most tactical warriors the world over. Kratos was somewhat of a prodigy among the most valiant of these, eventually becoming a Spartan general. He had a brother named Deimos who bore red birthmarks on his face and body, which would end up being the reason he gets abducted. A prophecy sprung forth about a marked warrior, being the one to take down not only Zeus, but Olympus itself. Zeus sent his children, Ares and Athena, to locate and imprison this warrior. However, the prophecy didn't count on Kratos marking himself with tattoos in veneration of his brother after he was abducted. Ares and Athena found and took Deimos, but Kratos wouldn't let them take his brother without a fight, valiant and brave as he is. However, the strength of a boy, matched with the God of War, proved to be nothing short of futile. Ares admired the courage of this boy and kept a close eye on him all his life after witnessing this. Being the God of War means being a great tactician, and Ares knew that someday Kratos could be of a great benefit to him. First, we will be delving into the relationship of Kratos and his brother. What is most interesting about the relationship between Kratos and Deimos is they are living out an immortal motif of the hostile brothers, beginning with Cain and Abel in the book of Genesis, as Jung states, "And so, in all ages and in all parts of the world, does the motif of the hostile brothers, which in innumerable modern variants still causes dissension in families and keeps the psychotherapist busy." As we know, Deimos is mistakenly abducted by Ares and imprisoned, thinking him to be the prophesied warrior. In the game Ghost of Sparta, as many know Kratos to be, he finds Deimos after years of being imprisoned. Deimos is not the brother he once knew though. He has grown bitter and full of resentment towards Kratos for never finding him and leaving him there to rot. Therefore, he has nothing but hatred for Kratos and desires to kill him, his own brother. While Kratos is full of fury, it is not towards Deimos. He loves his brother. Kratos is seemingly the one favored by the gods. As Ares always kept his eye on him, Zeus chose for him to be the killer of Ares, and Athena aided him in his pursuit of vengeance against Zeus. Likewise, Abel is the brother who is seemingly favored by God, as God accepts Abel's offering, but not Cain's. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock, and the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. Deimos, like Cain, is the one who is marked, and also the one who is full of hate for his brother, as Cain wanted to step out of the shadow of his brother.
I wanted to step out of your shadow. You understand that, don't you? But when I stepped out of it, there was no sunlight. No sunlight at all.
Therefore, as Jung has pointed out, Kratos and Deimos are only exuding a universal unconscious relationship of hostility between brothers. Synchronistically, this is something I have experienced personally with that of my own two sons, and have witnessed in many others. Synchronicity is a Jungian psychological phenomena that occurs when one has an inner experience that is followed by an outer experience to make for a meaningful experience. For me, I had been very frustrated with my sons not getting along and never being able to agree on anything, until I read this insight from Jung, and it quelled my frustration because I, at the time, finally understood why. It's like Rollo said,
I remember when we were boys. We often fought against each other. Isn't that always the way with brothers? They hate and love each other all the time.
In Jung's mind, we all harbor parental complexes labeled as the mother and father, respectively. However, we will mainly focus on that of the mother. The severity and density of these complexes, as well as their effects, vary subjectively, case by case, but there is a general outline. In the case of Kratos, both sides are pretty dense, considering he was forced to kill his own mother and chose to kill his father, due to his monstrous betrayal against Kratos and his family. During his quest to find Deimos, he encounters his mother, whom he presumed is dead. After realizing it was really her, she went on to tell him his father wouldn't allow her to speak with him or tell him his father's name.
Your father forbid me to tell you.
My father? Who is my father?
And before she could, she was turned into a monster that Kratos had no choice but to slay, as he does all monsters. The great mother archetype here transmutes to its dark side, the devouring mother, or eatable mother, as Freud coined, literally attempting to devour her own son. Imagine being the mother of Spartan sons. She must have been exceedingly anxious for both her sons all the time, as their lives are nothing but war and chaos. Jung discusses children with an overanxious mother, who dream of her being a terrifying animal having a split in their psyche, as we know Kratos has. Moreover, he just killed his mother, who actually turned into a terrifying beast attempting to kill him. Growing up as a Spartan boy, losing both your mother and brother, never knowing your father, and finding out he has some part to play in their abduction and incarcerations would create immensely dense complexes in anyone. In psychological theology, one perceives God how they perceive their own father. Therefore, Kratos views gods as tyrants and absent, neglectful parental figures. Being that he finds out he is a god himself, he unconsciously perceives himself in this negative light as well, which Mimir brings to his attention long after the events of God of War 3, concerning how badly this attitude is affecting not only him, but his own son as well.
He has to know. He'll never be whole without the truth. Look, I get it. You hate the gods, all gods. It's no accident that includes yourself. And it includes your boy. You see that? He feels that. He can't help what he is. He can't begin to help it because you haven't even told him. It's all connected, man.
According to Jung, the negative side of the mother complex is Don Juanism, which includes, but not limited to, striving after the highest goals, which for Kratos is killing the king of the gods, injustice, as Kratos kills many innocents, heroism, which although Kratos does a lot of wrong, his actions are indeed heroic to avenge his family, narrow-mindedness, as he is exceedingly stubborn early on, refusing to see reason and only vengeance.
My vengeance ends now.
Toughness of will, which after he attempts suicide in God of War 1, we haven't seen anything since to break Kratos' will. and a revolutionary spirit which strives to put a new face upon the world, as he gives Greece back to the people by bestowing hope back upon them. From the start, Kratos' life has been riddled with nothing but anguish and tragedy, as he exclaims to Atreus,
Being a god, it can be a lifetime of anguish and tragedy. That is the curse.
But he never falters in his pursuit of freedom from the fetters that bind him to darkness. Sadly, he harbors so much guilt and shame that they are only quelled by anger and projection onto others, and therefore he dwells in this darkness for a very long time. Because of this, Kratos' ego acts as a guise to protect everything that lies underneath. Think of his ego like the part of an iceberg that is above the surface. It is a much smaller part of the entire mass that lies below the surface. The huge mass below the surface is his unconscious content, such as his guilt and shame, that he masks from everyone with anger above the surface in this hyper-ego state. As people, the part of the iceberg above the surface is only but a fraction of all that we truly are and reveal to the world. Furthermore, the unconscious content below the surface has immense influence on what happens above the surface. If what is below the surface is not dealt with properly, it can have dire consequences. Jung called this aspect of our psyche the shadow, which we will discuss in part 2. Thank you so much for tuning in to part 1 of this series concerning Carl Jung and God of War. If you've enjoyed our work here, please consider liking and subscribing, as it really helps the channel, and hitting that little bell so you don't miss any future videos. Special thanks to all the amazing God of War creators, and of course, Carl Jung for his brilliant works. Join us next time for part 2, where we will begin to unravel the densest part of Kratos' psyche, his shadow. I'm Mr. Psychological. Until next time, stay psyched.